Hi, folks. I am here with Roselyn Thomas, our keynote speaker for the Solo Polyamory Online video conference. I'm really excited, Roselyn, for you to be our keynote speaker and wanted to know what you're excited about and what you've got in store for us.
So I'm really excited about this opportunity. This will be one of my first opportunities to speak to a solo polyamory audience at a larger scale. I got a chance to do a little bit of it, moderating a panel at Solo Polyamory unConference 2019. And it was really amazing. And I'm very interested in being able to talk with like a broader audience about just my thoughts about my journey and identifying as solo polyamorous, as well as some of my broader thoughts about what solo polyamory means to me. One of the reasons I think that I got asked to do this is I've, in the last like year or two, time flies when you're an adult. It just flies away. Once you get to the unconference, you'll learn more about this. So time flies. But I started a blog recently called Loving Solo, and I started the blog because I wanted to talk about solo polyamory from my perspective as a Black solo polyamorous woman in a space that like often didn't see a lot of Black folks and other folks of color as kind of leading the conversation. And I wanted to be able to provide that space. I really appreciate it. I've been a moderator or admin or something, I don't remember which exactly I am, for the Solo Polyamory Facebook group for a while. And I love that space. I often feel like a breath of like, oh, thank goodness. When we're responding to posts of like, yes, other people get it. There's this whole other way of thinking about what it means to be in relationship to a partner, but just other people, and the importance of autonomy in your life that I get reinforced when I'm in that space. And it can often be a pretty white space. And so I really wanted a space that felt like a Black space. I'm not sure if I can curse here, so I'm going to try not to, because we know I do a lot of that.
We're all adults here.
Okay, so like I was saying, a Black ass space. And so that I created Loving Solo to be that. And then just also because of like creating inclusive spaces is important to me. One of the things that I've tried to do is also figure out ways to just highlight other voices that I've seen in my time in the solo polyamory group, identify and talk about feeling like marginalized within that SOPO margin. I mean, SOPO is like a small subset of like broader non-monogamy, of polyamory for sure. And it's one really key way that you can do relationships in a non-normative way. And so we're swimming against the grain, and still there are folks who feel like they're a really small part of this already small community, right? And thinking about what are ways to like highlight those voices. So I always look forward to additional opportunities to do that work and to do that in community with other people. And so that's what I'm excited about the upcoming unconference.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. That is so great. I love your answers. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to be an organizer of SOPOCO in person.
So we were organizing for like a year beforehand, maybe a couple months less than a year, because there was some breather time for the folks who had organized the SOPOCO in Seattle. But over the summer, we got running on, or moving at least. I don't know if we were running, but we got moving on 2019. And for me, I really appreciated that experience. I'm a big believer that like the experience of solo polyamory is very different if you're not in a community or feel any kind of communal bonds beyond the bonds that you have with like any individual partners that you may have. And so participating and stepping up and taking a leadership role, well, I think we all lead in our own ways. But I think taking that like additional kinds of responsibility, collaborating with the like 4 to 5 other people who were kind of part of the central organizing team, right? One, gave me really great friendships that I value and I appreciate. And so that's like was really important to it. And 2, helped me to feel like it's really easy, I think, in I know Seattle has a really dope, like, I think they have a Sopoko brunch, a solo polyamory brunch or something like that. Don't y'all do like a gathering of solo polyamorists?
Kind of. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that there are places where people do SOPO gatherings specifically, but for a lot of us, we're like one of 2 who use this language at all in our local polyamory community. And it can feel like there's not a lot of community there. And stepping up in various like leadership or responsibility roles, for me has always been a way to like just feel more invested in a community, but also to feel like there's more like to feel more known and seen than if I don't have any kind of role. So organizing also gave me that, like more of a sense of like, there's a community out there beyond nameless people, you know, responding on a Facebook group or something like that. And then I would say that I talk about a lot about this organizing team. One of the things that I really appreciate is I felt like we really tried to embody a lot of values and practices that to me are also part of what helps people who are interested in or who identify as solo polyamorous be successful in terms of like as an organizing team. I think we valued people's autonomy, let people, if somebody says they're going to take on a role or a responsibility, take it on and let them do them. And let them do it their way, but also understanding that we are interdependent and we can depend on each other for help. So asking each other for support and help as needed and getting lots of feedback. And then like this other piece, right, of, I don't know the right words to use to describe it, but I would just say like the ethos of the team was like self-love is very important, and that it would show up in people taking time and taking care of themselves and pacing themselves and how they did the work, so that no one was being asked to sacrifice themselves for the good of the group, which is like an underlying ethos of like what being loving and dedicated and committed to something looks like in a lot of like couple-centric enmeshment ideas of what loving relationships look like, right? And I repeatedly saw people saying like, yes, I'm going to help. If I can do this, I will do this. Or I thought I was going to be able to do this, but I wasn't. Or I said I was going to do this. I'm supposed to have had it done and I don't have it done. And I'm really sorry. And I'm like offering that to people and folks treating each other with grace around all of that stuff. Because at the bedrock, we always wanted people to be taking care of themselves, loving themselves, and not sacrificing themselves in service to whatever vision we had for what this would look like. And that's pretty unusual, right? Like it's a pretty common ethos of relationships broadly, but of like organizing some type of like larger scale event like this, that people think that the only way to do that is to just eventually somebody or someone's have to take it all on themselves and have to like work themselves to the bone. And it's not that there was never times that we worked hard. There, of course, were, but that I think all of us were able to enter into those spaces from a really voluntary and choosing to kind of space rather than a feeling obligated to. More often than not. I'm sure that was not 100% of the time because nobody's perfect. The group is by no means perfect. And then, of course, the polyamory gold standard, a lot of communication, a lot of talking through stuff. How do we think about this? How do we think about that? Presenting issues, like folks would be able to talk about, I would be able to talk about like stuff that was going on that I would be like, hey, I feel worried that like I'll be like seen as like the Black woman co-signing some like fucked up shit by the group of white organizers, and that we need to be able to talk about that because I'm not going to do that. And folks being like, yes, we absolutely don't want you to do that. And in fact, if there's something that like is concerning you enough about that, then let's dig deeper. But also other people in the group being able to talk about like, hey, we're designing something that wouldn't be accessible for me. So it's not going to be accessible for other people. We need this thing, or this is the way that I work and what I need in order to be able to do the work that I want to do. And I just loved that. Like, it was hopefully for the folks who were able to attend, what they saw when they were there in person is all of those things that I loved about how the organizing team worked, working in practice with a much larger group of people. So the like things that you liked about how SoPoCo ran is also the stuff that we tried to do with how the organizing ran. And that living your praxis, I may be using that word wrong, it's been a while since grad school, is something that I find really wonderful and beautiful. And there's not a lot of people who, I think it's often really hard for people to do that. And so finding a group of people who seemed as invested in doing so was really dope. I don't know if you wanted me to talk all about like how dope the organizing team was and how much I love everybody, but that's what I talk about when you ask me what I liked about it. So
yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah, I just wanted to hear about your experience as an organizer and how, if you're enthusiastic about that, and then you're coming in to be a keynote speaker, you know, you're enthusiastic about these whole operations in general. It's like you've got passion, and it shows.
I have a lot of passion for what we're like. I'm so glad that you, Kelly, are taking on, you know, organizing something online. This is going to like preface one of the questions you were going to ask, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm really glad about that, because some of the feedback that we've got, and we receive it, you know, my sense from like, sometimes we try to keep the moderators of the Facebook group aware of like some stuff that's going on. And in the past, moderators of the group have also been on the planning committee, although it is not a conference by the Facebook group, right? I try to like preface that, but like, I know that something that folks talk about often, right, is that having it in meet space means that there are barriers to attendance, right? There's the cost of wherever we are at. There's the accessibility of the actual buildings that we're in, although that's something that the organizing team tries to like work on as much as they can and make sure that it's an accessible event.
And then on top of that, we have to feed people.
Yeah, there's the feeding people. There's the cost of getting people out. There's all of the stuff that's like idiosyncratic. That's not just about like the event itself, but like maybe I'm depressed that weekend. Maybe I don't know what my mood is going to be like. Maybe I'm in the midst of some kind of life transition or change that means attending is not going to be doable. We haven't yet solved kind of a childcare thing. That's a pretty big thing to try and like sort out. Although we know, of course, that like, and I know that sometimes the image of the solo polyamorist is semi-well-to-do and single and child-free.
Time out.
Yeah.
All right, we're back, folks. So you were possibly in the middle of talking about.
I liked about you choosing to do the online conference. It's just that like it makes it more accessible to a broader audience of people. There's a lot of different accessibility issues that come up with any event. And one of the things that SoPoCo is particularly focused on is how do we create as inclusive and accessible environment as possible, and to think really broadly about what that could mean, right? And there is something really special about being able to meet people in person, but I'm a kid of the kid. Not so much a kid.
We're still kids.
I was a kid once. I'm a child of the 90s. I'm not as native to like, what are they called? Gen Z, like native to the internet. I don't know. I'm a millennial. I love the internet. I've always been able to form relationships and meet people and form bonds through the internet. So while I think that there's something particular about like being able to meet people in person, I think that there's also a lot of liberatory possibility that having things online and having people who otherwise wouldn't be able to attend something that is in person have access to. So I'm really, really happy about that aspect of the space. And then, there's also that winds up opening up some other questions of things that maybe are what becomes possible for us in an online medium versus other kinds of mediums of like interacting with each other. I don't know what it will look like. I'm super excited to see what it will be just for that reason, because like I said, like I'm in the Facebook group, I'm in other polyamory Facebook groups and online spaces, and they're as important a part of creating community for me as any in-person space. Though I do try to also have some of the in-person space too. So yeah, I'm really excited for what becomes possible by having it online and who can then be part of the conversation who perhaps hasn't been able to be part of the conversation in the past. Because I understand I wasn't able to go to the first two because they were in places that I couldn't get to that were inaccessible to me at the time because of funding. So I want more people to be able to participate and share. And that's the idea of SoPoCo is a conference of people getting together and then like sharing best practices and questions and talking with each other, and not too many talking heads talking at folks. And so if we can broaden who can be a part of that, then how much better, how much richer might what we're able to get out of that space be.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited.
Thank you very much for y'all don't know, Kelly is putting so much time into putting together the online conference. They are doing a wonderful job about supporting the organizing of the next in-person conference. They were so instrumental in some of the logistics back-end stuff for 2019. Kelly is just a superstar, and we are all very, very lucky that they're willing to like support what is like, yes, it's bringing people together, but it's also this groupings of people who are kind of gathering and saying like, hey, relating can look different. And it doesn't have to be this thing, right? And so it's very, very important organizing work. And so I really appreciate you, Kelly.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Well, gosh, that's all my questions that I had laid out. Look at it. Yeah. Great. Well, anyway, there you have it, folks. And Roselyn is going to be the keynote speaker. And Roselyn, will you tell us about your blog really quickly again?
Yes, Kelly, I will. Thank you. I run a blog called Loving Solo. It is a blog about solo polyamory from a Black woman's perspective and seeks to think about how can we highlight the issues and concerns of solo polyamorous people and polyamorous communities, as well as the issues of the folks on the margins of the marginalized community of solo polyamory. That's kind of my mission and what I am hyped to do. And I'm always looking for different angles and different topics to get at to be doing that.
That's awesome. And then what is the website again for that?
Great question. It's probably lovingsolo.wordpress.com, but what I'll do is I'll share the URL with Kelly so that they can include it.
Oh, it'll be this way. It'll say.
It'll be right here. And don't forget to check out the page for
Solo Polyamory Online Conference.
Great. So on November 16th, don't forget to check out the Solo Polyamory Online unConference. We're going to have great conversations. I'm really excited to connect with everybody. And please, please, please don't forget to like the page and let us know that you're going to be attending.
Ta-da!